Tell them how I defy gravity. Yeah. Tell them how I defy gravity.
There is a culture, and I hear that we are born with the potential to behold through our connection to the infinite source. Ours would always be greater than the one, but capable of thinking and moving as one. The foundation is Christianity, which with the idea that there is something bigger than us. God, goddess, which means father, mother, Dana means daddy, mama, Kimi means mother, father. Sister means brother, sister, all have the word journey together, masculine and feminine principles.
Is a culture and not just a way of life. Oh, let them learn. Let them learn. Ooh, let them learn. It's a culture and not just a way of life. I want to hear that again. I love that song. I love what Kevin did with it. So, I'm not a big fan of capitalism, but it's the world we live in. You need things, you got to get them. And I need to get off this air mattress. So this is the first part of the bed. I got the mattress.
To the infinite source. Ours would always be greater than the one, but capable of thinking and moving as one. The foundation is Christianity, which with the idea that
there's something bigger than us. God got it.
Which means father, mother, Dana means daddy, mama, Kimi means
mother, father.
All the words journey together, masculine and feminine
principles. It's a culture, but not just a way of life. Oh, let them later. Ooh, this is packaged. This is what I call packaging. This is what I call packaging. This is packaged. I need to take a break from opening the package. I need to take a break from opening the package.
I'll ever be. The land how you changed me. The force that has found me. Yeah. I am floating here since time began. Nothing can exist inside this land. And I breathe you in before your light. Almost disappearing to you. Gravity is gone. It's gone now. I'm yours and universe and mine. You are my star. I am your galaxy.
Whoa.
My star.
Yeah.
I am your galaxy. Yeah. They will never take, will never touch. Coordinate the distances enough.
Oh, she's rising fast now, boy. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
And oh, you're much bigger than I am.
She started moving fast, bitch. She started moving fast, bitch.
And why did I more that I bond with you? The longer I've known you, the furthest I'll ever be. The land below you, the darkness.
But this one my sister sent me.
The space that is user. I see how you changed me. The force that has found me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am floating here since time began. Nothing can.
Oh, it's from my bathroom. She know how much I love purple.
Before your light. Cosmos disappear into you. Gravity is gone.
And this is the shower curtain.
Now.
It's so pretty. Is this to be an outfit? Let me stop. Okay.
You are my star. I am your galaxy. Yeah. They will never date, will never touch. Coordinate the.
So I was doing my cause that's the mattress that I ordered for the twin box frame that's coming tomorrow. So it's swelling up as we speak. She's still getting her full hump. Baby, they be packaging that stuff real tight. So today I wanted to talk about some things, and maybe I should move this. Ugh. Yeah, I feel like I needed to move that up a little bit. So. Oh, this is my tea. So, I wanted to talk about a few things today. I see you had came on the live 100% pure love. Thank you for making sure that whatever trolls that came on here first, they're going now. Bye, trolls. But my theme has started to become. Well, I feel like I need this right now. I might use it if I want to sing. But my theme has become gray. Like I like gray because gray for me is like purple. Gray is like black and white together. It's these two contrasting energies, these two very different things. Black and white, just like pink and blue, make purple. Like I like gray. I like purple spaces and I like gray spaces. So I want to do this space in purple and gray. Like I want the colors to be like purple and gray. Well, there's black in this, but black works too. Like just like white works. Like white and gray and and purple and black, um, they're it's the same it's the same principles. So but yeah, so you may see me doing a lot more gray. You know, you may see me wearing more gray clothing, more gray color clothing, using more gray, like working with gray more, because I really am like started to connect with gray, because for me gray is just another way to say purple. You know, when you have knowledge, when you're paying attention. So yeah, I have really been connecting with gray lately. So it's a couple of things that I want to talk about before I start talking about the struggle with the elders in community. And oh, thank you for the great hearts. So I wanted to go back to the movie Wicked and talk about how much I connect with Alphaba really briefly. Like Alphaba's character giving me what I was missing from Maleficent. Like Alphaba's character in Wicked gave me what I was missing from Maleficent. She gave me the nuance of having that color hue skin. So I resonate with Alphaba in the same way that I resonate with Maleficent in my work, in my art, in my creativity, in my storytelling, in my nature, in my nation building, in my nurturing, in my culture, and what I bring to culture. I resonate with Alphaba in the same way that I originally resonated with Maleficent. And so my biological sister was asking me, you know, what I thought of the movie Wicked, and that's how I felt. And so FD Signifier being one of the ones that I follow, you know, from time to time, um, on YouTube, he was talking about how he brought his sons to see it, and he was also being honest about how people wanted to make Alphaba's character in line with Kamala Harris's character, and no, like he was honest about that, and I appreciate that, because a lot of people will want to compare Alphaba to Kamala, and that's just not the truth. That's just not what's really happening. Another person that I follow is Understanding, and he was talking about um, he was giving a little bit of why, you know, they're making Jesus black now. And it's pretty much giving the same story that I said. He talked more in code, you know, about it, but he was basically saying it's a way to keep control. It's basically just a way to keep control. It's a way for those in power to keep their control. You know, now, you know, okay, we're gonna make Jesus black for y'all. We're gonna tell y'all Jesus was black. But really, honestly, this is about maintaining the patriarchy, you know. And so if we could, you know, get our black brothers back in alignment, because we look like we had lost y'all in this race, because a lot of y'all voted for Kamala. So it looked like y'all was done with patriarchy. You was ready to give it over to the woman, you know, like you were done. So hey, we're gonna make Jesus black again. We're gonna tell y'all Jesus black again, because it looked like y'all getting tired of the patriarchy, because y'all not seeing enough brothers in this seed. You're not seeing enough brothers in this seed. You know, you're not seeing enough of the homies. And so you feel in the way. And so you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make Jesus black again for y'all. We're gonna tell that, we're gonna bring that story back out again. You know, you can't sit in the White House, but you can believe that you up in that kingdom in the sky. You in that, you may not run stuff here. but we gonna give you the credit that after this is all over and we go on to the next part of the journey, you can believe that man we'll give you that. We just won't give you the White House. So that's what the Jesus being black thing is about. Basically, he didn't say it like that, but that's the summation of what I'm getting from what he said. This is about maintaining power, and you saw politically that a lot of black men shifted their vote to support Kamala. So a lot of black men, beings who identify with manhood and identify with the construct of manhood, they were backing Kamala. They was like, we don't care if it's a woman, this is the melanin, this is black and this is something different. And and so in order to shift that energy back toward patriarchy, we're gonna say again, but what you're not talking enough about is that they intentionally created the black Jesus. When we look at the most seen depiction of Jesus, when we think about the most like the likeness that we are all the most familiar with, besides him dying on the cross, is him being a baby in Mary's arms. Is him being held by his mother. And there's a reason why that is iconic in our minds. There's a reason why that image is fixed in our mind, because that is the truth of the matter. Is that as powerful as he was still somebody's child. He was still a baby. He was still somebody's, he still had to be nurtured by another being, a being that preceded him. That is why that image of Jesus being held by his mother, a dark baby Jesus and a dark maternal energy, that is the reason why that is so, because we must never forget that we come from something bigger than us. We come from something greater than us. We come from something that nurtures us, something that sustains us, and we must never forget that. In my mind, Mary is even bigger than that body. Mary is the avatar for the earth, for the galaxy, for the universe. And Jesus is a star within that whole universe, within that whole, cosmos. Jesus is a component that is being featured within that whole space. Amen and woman. So that's why that is very important to me. And my first piece that I painted in this apartment, it was actually about that. Now, I love abstract. So when we look at this piece, we see that this is a face, and this face is above this face. This is another face. And there's a whole lot going on around them, but this space is a little bigger, and this space is birthing this space. This space is caring for this space. This space is guiding this space. And so this is like an abstract version of the mother and the son, and all this around them. That's a whole nother entity. Like there is not just two entities on this painting. There's a lot more going on, but you tend to focus on this being and this being. But there's a lot that's helping to sustain the work that's happening between both of them. So yeah, this is like my abstract storytelling of that. Now, I want to dig into the Mufasa story, because I watched the Mufasa story once on my own. Then I watched it with empathy yesterday. And what I found really interesting about the Mufasa story is Mufasa is actually channeling the divine feminine. Because all through Mufasa's story, this is spoiler alert. So if you have not watched them, maybe come back later when I do get to the elders conversation. Because everything that I'm talking about now is leading up to my logic and my thought process around you're getting the backstory now that helps you to see how I reason and wrestle with my whole thought process with the elders. Because trust me, we're going somewhere. But I watched the Mufasa story, and empathy caught it right off that Mufasa was channeling the divine feminine. And it's so funny because you constantly hear the monkey say, "He lives in you." The monkey is even telling this to the daughter, who is played by Blue in this particular story. And so the monkey is constantly telling the girl, "He lives in you. Mufasa lives in you. He lives in you." But the movie was telling you about who lived in Mufasa. And whenever Mufasa was in harm's way, or whenever Mufasa was in danger, Mufasa would hear the voice of his foremothers. Mufasa would hear the voice of his mother. Interestingly enough, so she lived in him. He lives in you, but she lived in him. And I don't think anyone is like really taking the time to talk about or to really, really expound upon that being a reality for this particular film. That every time Mufasa was being guided, every time Mufasa was being encouraged, every time Mufasa was having something that was being poured into him, it was either from the lioness who loved him or the lionesses who had nurtured him. It was a feminine energy that was encouraging him, that was believing in him, that was supporting him, that was speaking to him from other realms. That was the voice that he heard. And so that's very important to know. We kept hearing, "He lives in you, he lives in you." They kept bringing home that message. But really, honestly and truly, we need to catch the tea that what made Mufasa a great king and what prepared Mufasa to rule, which was a whole nother conversation within itself, because this lion, who is a natural born predator to a lot of the animals who he was being given dominion over, that's just a whole nother video within itself. But what made Mufasa a worthy king or a worthy leader or a worthy guy was the fact that Mufasa was given to the women, to be raised by the women. Mufasa was rejected by the men. Mufasa was rejected by the males in the tribe. And Mufasa, hey, brother, sister, daughter, son, Mufasa was rejected by, the men, and was outcast by the males of his herd and was given over to the women. And so that made Mufasa a worthy leader because of being given to the women, being able to have that understanding, being able to have that clarity. So this brings me to Moana. Well, before I go to Moana, the "He Lives in You" narrative comes up again in The Dragon Prince, which is another Netflix series that I have watched since it first started. And so the main narrative in the story is there's this girl who becomes gets a lot of power. She becomes truly powerful, and she loses her father to dark magic or to chaotic magic. And she's trying to reconnect with her father. She'll do anything for the love of her father. She'll destroy people's lives. She'll rain down terror. She will go. There is nothing that she will not do for the love of her father. And in parallel to that, there's a being who is called the Fallen One, who will do anything to avenge his daughter. Who will do anything to avenge, his daughter who was destroyed. And so there's this dynamic of loving the father and how important the father is, there's that programming of little girls being willing to destroy people's lives and being willing to go to no limit to have a connection with their father, to feel loved by their father, to feel seen by their father. And so even though it's a great story, I honestly can't stop watching it. It's very good. I am aware of the politics of how the programming is happening to these children, the hidden messages that are being placed into the content. I'm just thankful that maturity has opened my eyes to be able to see what's not being clearly said, but what is more so being suggested. It's not being boldly stated, but it's being repeatedly suggested. He lives in you. Go to any lengths to appease him, to make him happy, to feel a connection with him. It's being suggested. It's not being overtly said. And my problem is not even it being said, but the imbalancing in the conversation. Constantly this primary focus on his well-being. He lives in you. Protect him, serve him. It's just an imbalance in messaging for me. That's the greatest thing. Now, Moana did something different. Moana did what I have not seen any anime film do, or any animated storytelling do. And not only did Moana in part two, all of her ancestors came together and imbued her with the power of a deity, imbued her with, allowed her, what I think spiritually, because if all it was enough of her ancestors, maybe not even necessarily all of them, but enough of her ancestors in her DNA came into alignment through her actions and the things that Moana was willing to go through in order to preserve her people and to expand the territory of her people and to live up to her purpose and what she had been called to do. But enough of her ancestors came into alignment within her DNA that she was able to rise, have that kundalini rise, and to tap into those powers that were always in her. Through her actions, there was enough of her ancestors that said, you know what, pretty much we fucks with this. And we finna pool our power together within your DNA, and we about to touch you, and you about to tap into that. And there was this moment where that was visually seen, where enough of her DNA was activated that she was able to tap into her divinity and manifest it physically, and was given an instrument and a tool to use that power, to wield that power. So she literally became a demigod, or a demigoddess, or a demigod goddess. And what stood out the most for me in that film was that the people that she was going to find, unlike in Avatar, which is a series that I love, but I have not been able to watch more than one time since they recreated it for Netflix, because Aang came to save the world, but Aang is saving a world without black people in it. And so unless we have astral projected and the rest of us have just, because maybe perhaps what is going to happen is those of us who are deeply melanated, unfortunately, some of us will, board the ship and go back home. Some of us won't be here. Some of us will morph up out of here, astral project up out of here, leave this space in consciousness. The rest of us will be crossbred until, all of the babies look biracial and they don't look black anymore. And perhaps the rest of them will perish. I don't know. But in this world that Aang is saving, there is no representation of blackness. And so, or negritude, or ebanoidness. And so, I think what I really loved about Moana 2 was they were literally going back to save, like, the people that they were able to connect with after she became a demigod was black people. Like, these were the people, be not twisted. They got darker towards the end of the film. They didn't get lighter. The people that Moana was trying to reconnect with, they were darker than what she was. And so I lived for that. I actually lived for that. Moana 2 is something that we never see in a Disney production. Now, I had some questions about them hair textures. But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I was grateful for what I got. Because at least we told the truth about the melanin. So I ain't going to look a gift horse too deeply into the mouth. So all of this goes into what I want to talk about right now. And that's what I want to talk about right now is the strain between myself coming into elderhood, because I say I'm an elder, and to some I am viewed as an elder, because I always crack the joke that, you know, in the trans community, we age in dog years, you know, because but you know, that's not necessarily true anymore, because the trans community has become very commercialized, and so trans children are being shielded from a lot of the truth now. Trans children are experiencing a different reality now. Now, true, we're seeing it play out in mainstream where we know that an attack is still there, but parents and society, you know, have built networks where they found ways to shelter and cover their trans children. And so the reality that we were forced to navigate, because many times we as trans children were being tossed out onto the streets. And so we got to see it for what it really was. We got to see how ugly the world really was at a young age. We got to see how nasty and vile and how the underbelly worked at a young age. And so experiencing transness 30 years ago with experiencing it now, it kind of hits different. And so what we have to understand is that 30 years ago, you could be as trans as you wanted to be, but the way that you kept from being viewed as delusional, the way that you kept from being viewed as mentally unstable, and we have to understand that in the black community specifically, in the black indigenous, because I want to hold space for the indigeneity and the aboriginousness that lives in us as deeply melanated human beings. 30 years ago, being able to identify with your cisness, being able to own your cisness, to not be ashamed of what you were given genetically. You could be as feminine as you wanted to be. You could present in a masculine way if you were born with a vagina. You could be as masculine as you want to be. But don't be ashamed of what you were born with. That's what cisness is about. Cisness is about not feeling discomfort, not feeling any challenge, not feeling any issue with what you were genetically given at birth. But transness conflicts with that, because a lot of times transness is about knowing who you are inwardly, knowing what you are spiritually, knowing how you feel consciously, how you feel internally, how you feel in your soul, how you feel in your spirit. And so just having access to your transness creates a conflict that a lot of cis people or cis thinking people, they're not even having that conversation. I was born with a penis. Being born with a penis means I'm a man. That's a wrap. I was born with a vagina. Being born with a vagina means I'm a woman. That's a wrap. End of story. It doesn't matter what my thoughts are. It doesn't matter what my emotions are saying. It doesn't matter how energy is moving through me. I have a vagina. I'm a woman. Case closed. I have a penis. I'm a man. Case closed. That is the reality for a lot of Black Indigenous people who were experiencing a certain type of programming in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. That was the programming. To not be ashamed, to not be in conflict. I don't even want to use the word shame. To not be in conflict with your genitalia. Being in conflict with your genitalia is delusion. Being in conflict with your genitalia is sin. Being in conflict with your genitalia is demonic. Being in conflict with your genitalia is an abomination. So they were being programmed. That was the programming. That was the crux of the programming. What your genitals say you are, that's who you are. End of the story. And what we understand about this conversation is that if your genitals are allowed to determine who you are, that clearly states that your mental is of no value to the people who are making these determinations. You're not here to think. You're not here to have your own thoughts. You're not here to have your own mind. You're not here to add to the conversation. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is to procreate so that we can have more worker bees. Because we don't really care about what's going on in your head. We care about your ability to produce. And in order for you to be comfortable with producing, for the most part, you need to want to connect with cisness. Now, we have a generation of trans people who have found a way to mirror cisness. And so they are also invested in creating in the way that cis people have created, in building in the way that cis people have created. We have gay people who connect with their cisness, and they're creating their own examples of how to mate with another cis man and to adopt and to have that same formula to get married and to adopt. And we're gonna be two cis men. We understand who we are. There's no confusion. We are our genitalias. We're going to get babies and we're going to adopt and we're going to mirror cisness, but we're going to do it in a homosexual way. There are lesbian women who get together and mirror cisness. Mirror cisness, come together and they find a way. Either, one of them will go and get pregnant or be a surrogate or they'll adopt. But they found a way to adapt to the binary cis system and to sustain society as it is. And so, and I'm not ignoring the comments because I'm gonna get to them. But I feel like I don't want to lose my train of thought because I did have a little puff when I woke up. That's why I had to write my thoughts down. But I feel like it's important to understand, and that's why I have patience for so many of my elders. Now, when I bring this person's name up in this video, I am not bringing up their name to be messy. I am not bringing up their name for this to be a drag or for this to be a read or for this to be taken as such. I'm going to say her name because I feel like it's important to give a actual example of what I'm talking about. Now, specific to black trans beings who were brought up in the South and who were brought up in the Christian religion. Florida is the South. Okay? Florida is the South. Madison Hinton was brought up in the South. Madison Hinton is around my age. I think I may be a couple of months older than her. Now, interesting enough, every time she has referenced, or this person has referenced my spirituality, they've always called it voodoo. They've always tried to find a way to demonize it, throwing chicken bones in the floor, lighting candles. They've tried to find a way to distort my spiritual practices in a way that makes me look like I'm participating in something that is harmful. And the most different thing about my spirituality, the most different thing about Laylim Layler, the thing that makes Laylim Layler stand out and makes Laylim Layler different is one key thing. It is a relentless acknowledgement of the mother. It is a relentless acknowledgement of the divine feminine. It is relentless. When I speak, I am consistently for 7 years saying with great intention, a man, a woman. Thank you, mother. Thank you, father. Thank you, God, goddess. Thank you, goddess, God. This is the unique thing about Laylim Layler, is that it is a relentless acknowledgement of both the masculine and the feminine. So is that what makes it voodoo? Is that what makes it wicked? Is that what makes it demonic? And so we have to understand that a lot of our elders have been conditioned to believe that power comes from the man. Power comes from the masculine side. But power does not. What makes our transness special, what makes our transness unique, is the knowledge and the access to both energies. Because the same way we stand out when we walk into a room, because we walk in our wholeness, because we were born with a certain genitalia, but we have a certain type of energy, that same spark that sets us apart in a room full of people is the same thing that masculine females experience. And it's not because they were born with penises, because they were not. It is the acknowledgement of the access to all of it. It is the celebration of that access that sets us apart. It's not what I was born with between my legs. It is the access, the mental, the conscious, the emotional, the spiritual access to that knowledge that sets us apart, not genitalia. Because when you leave this world, you're not taking dick and balls and vaginas and fallopian tubes with you. When you ascend, that is not going with you. When you transform, that is not going with you. When you shape shift, that is not going with you. It is merely the vehicle and the vessel. And so the gap between because see, I'm a very, like, for me to be in the age group that I'm in, I wasn't supposed to subscribe to what I'm subscribing to. I was supposed to accept the programming just like everybody else my age. Hold on one second. Who is it? Who is it?
Jackson?
Yeah. Thank
I was
you.
just looking for the door. I was like,
It's in the front too. That's the door in the front.
yeah, I messed around, but I was like, nah, let me go around. Let me make sure it's not on the side.
All right, thank
All right,
you.
have a good one.
You too. Girl, I'm still getting packages. Yeah, so I feel like that's what's happening generation wise, is that there are those of us who are holding on to this notion, this programming, that our strength comes from our genitals and not the consciousness, not the access. You know, before we were flesh, we were spirit. Before we were flesh, we were energy, you know, and so it's, to me, we've been polluted in these ideologies that the materialization of the energy is more necessary or more eternal than the energy that created it. And this is where I'm at a standstill and a standoff, if you will. And this is why I've drawn the line in the sand with my community. And I've gotten to the age of, you know, just because you say you're trans, it doesn't mean you're trans, because you could be a polluted, corrupt version of it. A lot of y'all is bizarre. You bizarro, for lack of a better term. The purple ones is over here being Superman. You bitches over here being Bizarro. The purple ones is being super beings, super manifestations. And y'all over here being Bizarro. You're distorting the truth. You bought into this idea that your genitalia, your phallic, your penis, it denotes your sovereignty, your authority. That's where your power comes from. But as I said earlier, with beings like Queen Latifah was literally my, outside of the women in my family, outside of my great grandmothers, my grandmothers, outside of them, Queen Latifah mainstream was the first being that identifies with womanhood that I gravitated towards. And Queen Latifah to me was everything, because I could see Queen Latifah's masculine energy, but I also saw Queen Latifah's divine feminine energy. And I gravitated, my first time dressing, you know, and embracing my womanhood and embracing my femininity, my first time when I got a chance to go out with my girlfriends. You remember when Queen Latifah used to wear the crown on her head, and she used to wear the long sleeve and stuff? My first time ever dressing up, I dressed like Queen Latifah. And it makes sense that later we will find out that Queen Latifah was lesbian. That was literally my first role model. I loved Queen Latifah because Queen Latifah embodied wholeness. When Queen Latifah played that role and set it off, I was like, Queen Latifah was my spirit animal. And Queen Latifah to this day remains one of the most dynamic female forms in mainstream. Just one of the most dynamic and iconic beings for me because Queen Latifah moves through all of the spaces. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that is power. Queen Latifah was not bound, did not allow her genitalia to bound her. Although Queen Latifah is very, even though we know Queen Latifah channels both energies, Queen Latifah is really on some, woman power, woman power, woman power, woman power, woman power. And I think, some of the, black women that I follow, some of the, like for example, her name is Yaya World 777. Empathy introduced me to this being. A lot of black females, and not Yaya, cause Yaya, I live for Yaya content. I haven't really got into how Yaya feels about trans people or how Yaya feels about queer people. Some people stay away from that topic intentionally, but I know that there was this girl that I was following on TikTok who I think her name was like Abundance or something, and I stopped following her because once I start to hear those messages from females, like it's like a lot of the males that I follow, like a lot of the beings that I follow that identify as men, the ones that I follow, they always giving props to black women. They always saying positive things about black women. They're always crediting black women for what, for the divine feminine. Now, sometimes I have to question, is you just tongue wrestling or are you really living up to it? Because you quick to give props, but how is that showing up in your work? Like, how is that showing up in your nation building? Like, how is that showing up in what you're creating? But a lot of the men that I listen to who identify, with their melanin and who identify as men, a lot of them will credit women for teaching them and credit them for being the divine feminine and credit them as nurturers and leaders and teachers, and again, we see this shift in politics, which is why the Black Jesus came back again. Which is why they brought back the Black Jesus. But, with black women, when they're speaking consciously and when they're speaking powerfully, it's either they're giving worship to the black man and still putting him above themselves and not really giving you like that equal energy, or it's they're stunning the black man. And to a certain degree, you is son. To a certain degree, you is son. Mother son. To a certain degree, you is son. To a certain degree, S-U-N. She's the galaxy, or that being is the galaxy. That being is the earth, and you are a component within that solar system. So to a certain degree, you is son. But to say that is also saying that this is a part of me. And so it doesn't always have to feel reductive for you to just acknowledge that this is another part of you. Maybe not capable of doing everything that you can do, maybe not able to function in the way that you function, but this is still a part of you. This is still a piece of you. This is still a part of you. And so you don't always have to sun it. You could, you don't have to always reference it in a way that reduces, male energy or masculine energy, or just looks at it as all chaotic and destructive, because some of us were born with penises and we tapped in. All of us ain't around here killing and destroying and doing fuck shit. Some of us are more tapped in than y'all, and y'all was born with vaginas. Let's just go ahead and keep it real. Some of us around here making sacrifices that would not have you to prove our loyalty. Some of y'all around here moving like sons. Some of y'all need to be sunned. So we're gonna play the whole tape. Let's play the whole tape on both sides. Some of y'all need to be sunned. Some of y'all need to ride that bitch for a little bit until you get it together. Because everybody that was born with a penis is not moving the same way, just like everybody that was born with a vagina is not moving the same way. We're not all participating in the same antics, neither are we all participating in the same shenanigans. And let me go back to some of these comments. Oh, baby, y'all been commenting y'all ass off. Okay. Yeah, remember to hit that like button, because y'all ain't been hitting that like button. It's free 99. It's 11 people on there. Where them likes at, boo? Where them likes at? Purple ones rise. Do be trying to cast. They are fully binary, which means halfling. You love saying half a link. You determined to make it half a link. Let me see. Like to say seasoned. I like to say seasoned. Come on. Peace, Miss Kaneen Pooh. Being trans is a spiritual experience. It should be. It should be. But so many have distorted it, manifested into the physical realm. Yeah. Challenging the binary program is a threat to the matrix. Absolutely. Yeah. It's half links. The halfling mindset, limiting yourself to just a piece of flesh. Yes. Yes. And I suppose saying half links, my only problem with the term half link is it's not giving you like spear. Cause like when you say link, it could be a link in a chain. So it could be something going linear. So let's just be careful with using the term half link, because even if you have all the links, it could still be going in a linear direction, which is not giving you a full cycle. So when we say half link instead of saying half lings, because what I'm saying is HALFING, I'm saying halfling. So halfling can mean this is a half of a whole in a spherical sense, like a perfect circle, like a 360. Because I believe in cycles. I work within cycles. I believe in, seasons, and you go back and you revisit. If you're doing links, this is linear. So a link can be laid like a train track. It's links in a train track. If you've seen how train tracks are made, it's links in train tracks. It can be going linear. It could be going straight backwards and forwards. It does not have to be coming full circle. It could be going from one end to the other. So when we using the term half link, just have knowledge of that. This is nothing but facts. Using templates of cisness and being creative with it. Yeah, a lot of them are. Y'all not about to forget about my mama. Exactly. We acknowledge our foremothers and our forefathers. We're not playing over it. Right. We're not. We're not. It's going to be. And this is not just the forefathers outside of you. This is the forefathers within you. This is the foremothers within you. This is those things in your DNA inside of you. So it's not a foreign, far away outside force. It is something that actually activates and maneuvers within you. And I shared this as a download when I woke up. As I woke up, wondering why um in European monarchs or in different monarchs around the world, um, the heir to the throne has to be biologically connected to the throne. And what the ancestors was telling me is when they get ready to do that coronation or when they get ready to do that inauguration, that is the process of activating what's in that DNA. Like your court, your the stars that come into alignment for your coronation or your inauguration, they are giving that energy. They're basically doing what the ancestors did to Moana when Moana became a demigod. They're basically coming in agreement for you to rule in the way that they expect for you to rule, in the way they want you to rule. They're basically doing a ritual that is activating that demigod. This inauguration, this coronation, when all of those stars align for you, and you have to be of a certain bloodline, I'm guessing, for that shit to animate. For that shit to activate, for it to activate, I mean. Animate, activate, same thing. It's hyper obsessed patriarchal mindset. I'm liquefied and poured inside the pineal glands of the wise. Period. It's a miracle you detached from the matrix. Yeah, and when I had bottom surgery, I felt myself slipping back into it again. And I think that's why my art is so important, my storytelling is so important, because the more I feel comfortable in my body, and I feel probably the most comfortable in my body now than I've ever felt in my body, after having the revision. Like, everything comes with its challenges. I'm learning my body again now since being post the surgery. Getting used to different smells and getting used to having to wear pads all the damn time because shit be discharging, like, and learning how to just be responsible with my body and take care of my body. So, but I feel more comfortable in my body than I have in a long time. And amazingly enough, like, I would rather go through the issue of dilating than waking up with a hard on. If I had to choose between waking up with an erection and dilating, I'm gonna go with dilating. I'm just saying, me personally. This is just me. This is me personally. having impromptu erections in at the most inappropriate times, I'm gonna go with dilation. I'm so thankful that I met her because I would still be praying to King Jesus, terrified and obsessed and oppressed as fuck. Chael, it is a whole blessing. Bizarro indeed. Okay, a lot of these girls and these trans men, we ain't gonna leave them out. I can't really talk to barely anyone from the older generation, let alone the new generation, because the majority of people are deeply programmed. And I just left a comment on one of my sister's page this rising. It's like, a lot of the social media realm has become a monitoring spirit, like, and that's why when I put things out, I don't really expect a lot of support because people have, content creators have really, really just brought down the bar, just made everything so messy and salacious, and and instant gratification, like not really, like they put work into their platform, but they don't inspire their people to really do any work. They inspire them to be spectators. They inspire them to want to be entertained. They inspire them to want to be amused, but they don't put anything in them that makes them want to be more conscious, be more aware, be more invested in liberation, be more invested in, like it's most content creators today are just creating content to entertain you, to distract you, to amuse you for the moment, and that cultivates a spectator spirit, that cultivates it's not an activist spirit. It's not a revolutionary spirit. It's a spirit of, I'm just going to keep my head down and be quiet. Thank you for this laugh today. Thank you for helping me get through today. But I'm going to continue to do the same shit I've been doing. Thank you for helping me get through it. Not motivating me to be that for others, not motivating me to sow into others, not motivating me to show up for others, but motivating me to be a spectator. That's what a lot of content creators are doing. And there's a downside to that. The downside is that you it's gonna come a point now, if you're not trying to sell somebody something, or if you're not entertaining people, they ain't really here for that. You got a product, something you can make me believe I need, or is you about to tell me some mess about somebody? Is it gonna be something entertaining, or you got something I could buy? Because I'm a consumer and a spectator. That's what most of society is. Consumers and spectators. Consumers and monitors. The bulk of society is consumers and monitors. And that has to shift in order for actual change to happen. And that's why this work is so critical, detaching so that we could begin a reset. Or we just gonna keep doing the same stuff. And if it benefits you, I could see why you will want to continue to do it. That's why I do not think that gay marriage is going to be affected by Donald Trump's administration. I honestly feel like we'll see a gay president of the United States before we'll see a woman. And when the gay man win, they gonna tell that story so damn beautiful. Y'all gonna all be rooting for it. Y'all gonna be rooting for it, not knowing that this is just more patriarchy. Cause baby, gay men could be more homophobe, more misogynistic, and more sexist than straight men. Gay men can be worse. Oh, when we get an openly gay man in the White House, y'all really gonna see some sports. That's why when y'all try to compare me to that, when y'all try to compare me to that, call me a gay man? Okay, sure. I could be moving a whole lot differently and have a whole lot more resources if I was a gay man, if I thought like a gay man, if my politics aligned with that of a gay man. I would not be living on Hasa, waiting for people to send me packages through Amazon. I would not be, if I kissed the ring with my writing skills, with the way that I articulate things, the way that I say things, what I believe. If I was to swear my allegiance to the Father and just serve the Father for the rest of my days, bitch, I could be a lot further. That's why when women be saying they little slick shit about me, bitch, in the back of my mind, bitch, I be singing Patti LaBelle. If only you know how much I do love you. If only you knew Ah, bitch, 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 if only you knew, bitch. Because, bitch, there is another way. And it's not as stressful. I mean, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. You know, I personally wouldn't be able to live with myself. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So, you know, but I would be very comfortable. We've seen several examples of it, of how to make it work. Oh, shit. It's so annoying dealing with people who think they are superior. Them dicks and balls be anchors. We child, a lot of halflings be having all types of audacity, but be peasant minded as a motherfucker. Make it make sense. Really, Queen Latifah is the GOAT. Child, Cheetah Girls activated my divine feminine very early. Come on, Cheetah Girls. They be saying a lot of bullshit instead of saying they like to bust and climb bags, being no moans, no surge, isn't prolific. They be saying a lot of bullshit instead of saying they like to bust and climb back. Girl, girl, not you a rock climber. Cause you know if you a girl who like to do the boys, then they call girls who masculine bricks. So what's another word for a brick? A rock. So bitch, the boys is rocks. So girl, she's a rock climber. Girl, she's going rock climbing, girl. Girl, she's going rock. Girl, she's a rock climber, girl. That girl is active, girl. That girl loves the great outdoors, the great back doors. The great back doors, lady. She's a rock climber. Girl, every now and then, girl, it's a mudslide, girl. It's a mudslide, girl. Girl, it was an avalanche, girl. It was an avalanche, girl. It was a rock climbing mudslide avalanche, bitch. She was climbing rocks, and girl, there was a mudslide, girl. Let me stop. Ooh-wee. Yes, I be living for some cis people until they talk shit or negative about trans people, especially women, and I fall all the way the fuck back. It was Aaliyah for me when it comes to the divine feminine. Kaneen was my first example of wholeness. Baby, Aaliyah was like Aaliyah tapped into that masculine energy too. Like, and you from a different generation. Like, you like 10 years, 14 years behind me. So I could see Aaliyah being there because Aaliyah tapped into that. Aaliyah was sexy. She was in her womanhood. But Aaliyah gave you a little bit of the boy. Like Aaliyah gave you some masculine energy. And what you call it also connect with her. The other young girl that I be following on here, Lee Batty. She connect with Aaliyah. Mm, I like that new rapper Dolce, whatever her name is, until she called a trans woman a dude. Oh damn, I didn't know that. That's beautiful TS baby mama. I hate when they misgender trans women as men. What Dolce was misgendering is it a cringe. It's very cringe when they misgender intentionally. Yeah, calling the trans woman a man is misgendering. She said free 99, yeah. Exactly. I already know Pooh. Okay. Dolce got a song when she speaks on her ex being DL, she called the trans woman a dude in the song. I used to like, well, I was starting to like Dolce. Now I'm kind of like, let me see. Yes, calling trans people the gender they're assigned at birth is misgendering them. Did you call? Did you call in the apartment or Orkin man, whatever, to check out what you called the little visitor a few days ago? So I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna give y'all a report. So, Empathy been over here every day, so she knows what's been going on. So the apartment, the maintenance man came over here and did like a cement paste over all of the holes. So I shouldn't be expecting any more visitors because there's no holes for them to come in through. But remember when I was making jokes that night about them being a sacrifice and them dying for Layla Layla? I was like, did you come to die? Or like I was, if you go back to the live, you heard what I was saying. And it's so crazy. I think that the mouse was sick and it was trying to find a safe place to die. But I think that the mouse had already been poisoned and it was trying to come and find a safe place to die because I thought that it had went away and hid, but the next morning I found it like right across from my altar, stretched out. Like, child, it died. It died right like while I was asleep. I woke up and something told me to go look over there, like I had a bag that was sitting there and I moved the bag and it was laid under my little shoes, honey, and it was just sprawled out right across from the altar. And so I think that that was just ironic that on New Year's Eve, like the eve of New Year's, that happened. I just like I just know that was something spiritual. And I don't know, like me and Empathy was talking about this. I have so she helped me get him or get the being up, and I we scooped it up and put it, and I ended up flushing it. I said a couple of words, but I returned it to the water, you know and sometimes I do burials, but sometimes I'll do it by water. And so I did this particular one by water because I feel like everything comes from water, everything returns to water. Water is the birther of everything. Water is the closest to the original source, Mada, father, Dama, daddy, mama. So I did a water burial, and we ended up having a deep conversation about why is this fear of touching things directly, because I've buried a lot of um beings. Like, I've buried the carcasses of a lot of beings, and why I have like this fear of touching it directly when it's not animated, when it's no longer movement. There's this fear that when I touch it, I'm gonna reactivate it. And I think that's a binding spell that has been placed on me, that I'm trying to undo currently. But this fear of reanimating something, because that is literally, I know that that's a spiritual gift that I think a lot of us have as conscious whole ones, as purple ones, as gray ones. I think that's a lot of what we do. We take people who have become spiritually dead, people who are unconscious, people who are not present, people who are unaware. We engage with them, and that spark comes back, that spark of life, that spark of wonder, that spark of sovereignty, that spark of autonomy, that comes back to them, and we awaken them from a sleep. And so I think that's a fear that I have, is when I touch something, am I going to reanimate it? Not so much I'm afraid to touch the body because I'm afraid of dead things, but I'm afraid of reanimating it, because if I reanimate it, what does that say about me? So like that's a fear. I have a fear of touching things that are not alive. And I know that that is a curse that I have to break. I know that that is a stronghold. That is something that I have to break. Because I be around here waking up dead things all the time. I be around here reanimating dead things all the time. I do it all the time with humans. But they're not physically dead, they're spiritually dead. So I don't have a fear of awakening spiritually dead people, but I do have a block when it comes to reanimating something that is physically dead. Because that's when it becomes all too real. That Oh, and if you have the gift to awaken something that is spiritually dead, then you definitely have the gift to awaken something that is physically dead. You definitely have the gift of necromancy and the gift of reactivation. And I think that's why it's a fear that if I touch this, I'm going to bring it back to life. I've had animals that were near death and I've cared for them, and now they're stronger than ever. I could do this with plants. I could do this with pets. So, but I've never allowed myself to touch a dead animal. Because, I've also been programmed about that. Once it goes to that side and you bring it back, what is it coming back with? Is it potentially coming back with some things that it wasn't supposed to come back with? And have you helped with that? But that's a whole nother life. That's definitely a whole nother life. Thank you for educating Pooh, because I've been saying that consistently. A lot of cis people. I'm not gonna lie. Did the apartment? Oh yeah, I read that already. Congrats on your new apartment, Pooh. I'm not able to comment on nobody's videos or posts until it's live. YouTube banned me from commenting, shaking my head. Oh my goodness. They aspire to be chess pawns. Wait, T.S. baby mom. I thought Dochi was referring to a cis gay man. What, her ex was cheating on her? Yes, creators educate, basically. Since Trump's administration is basically fueled filled with white DL gay men. And I definitely believe that. I definitely believe that. Rock climbing. Girl, get some borax. I'd be more scared to touch it alive. I don't be scared to touch them alive. But I wouldn't want to touch it alive or not. Power over something supernatural and out of this realm. Child, I call myself a goddess of mercy. Yes, okay, a goddess of mercy because you be showing grace. You be letting people make it. But yeah, we gonna do a close out a close out video, a close out song. Let me be nosy and see what this is. Oh, my little exercise band. Child, they got this looking so bootleg, girl. Girl, this is my little exercise band, girl. I'm gonna pull my little feet back behind my head, child. Okay, here go my purple towels. I got some towels for my bathroom. So, child, I'm about to go ahead and set up my bathroom. And the frame for the mattress come to well, not tomorrow. I think I gotta wait a couple of more days for that frame. But I'm happy that the mattress is here. Cause baby, I might lay that mattress on top of that motherfucking child and see how that shit works. See if that shit can hold that shit. But anyway, at least until the frame get here, let me do a closing out song. Trying to see how I'm gonna close us at today. Cause I feel like we talked about a lot. Unless y'all have some more questions or something, or do y'all have any more questions that you want to ask while I find? We rise, we fall together through it all. We rise, we fall together through it all. We rise, we fall together through it. They try to label us and lock us in, diminishing our connection over differences again. But the game been rigged from beginning to end. Forced assimilation, been trying to blend, but in a capitalist society, it's more enemies than friends. Spiritually impoverished, how the people go in. Overseer in the pulpit, pointing out sin. Sleep getting hurted like sheep while the rich wallow in pig pens. Stacking poor people like casino chips, collecting them dividends. But the game ain't over, third eye open, standing here sober on a 4-leaf clover, ready to nova. I got bars, but I ain't hover. Now damn, I sit on a sofa, let life pass me by. I put myself out there, co-creating a drive, growing a stride, ready to be free of the high, the ones that don't value our lives, even when we submit to the lies. If we want real democracy, we gotta cut the ties, cut the ties. Ooh, real democracy, we gotta cut the ties before this is hopes and minds. They try to label us and lock us in, diminishing our connection over differences again. They try to label us and lock us in, diminishing our connection over differences again. We rise, we fall together through it all. We rise, we fall together through it. Join me in the circle together in the circle. Walk with me in this circle, circle of life, circle of life. Infinitely in this circle, see infinitely circle in this circle. Let's just be in this circle, circle of life, circle of life. Me in this circle, this beat in this circle, are free in this circle, circle of life, circle of life. Love me in this circle. Hey, in this circle, baby, in the circle of life. And that's why when we say half link, we have to be reminded, because I mean, I understand, like somebody was telling me the other day that they want their space to be like a square, because a square has angles in which it can ward off. Like, they were talking about how the shapes fare when it comes to attacks, and how you want what you're building to be a fortress rather than to be a circle. And I feel like I could have a fortress within a circle. I feel like I could have a circle within a fortress. I just feel like that circle, needs to be there. I feel like that it has to definitely be there. So anyway, that's gonna wrap for today. We've had an hour and 30 minutes, and we have opened up gifts. We have sang. We have talked about movies. We have talked about Laylim Layler. Chell Empathy had put into the Twitter search engine what was Kaneen Mafa and what was Laylim Layler. And next time I go live, I'm going to share, child, AI been doing their homework, because AI knows some stuff, baby, on the Twitter search engine. I was surprised that, Twitter had that much to say about Kaneen. Twitter know who Kaneen is, honey. And Twitter know what Laylim Layler is. Twitter AI is not, or X, because I think it's called X now. It's not really like making the spiritual connection, like the spiritual aspects of the work that I do, or the spiritual aspects or the soul connections, between Laylim Layler and Kaneem Mafa. Like these spiritual or soul connections are not really being as elaborated upon. Like, it gives you the breadcrumbs that leads you to the information, but it's really not, making the connection. Like, if you Google Laylim Layler, you'll find me and Empathy in Laylim Layler. Like, literally. I think Laylim Layler even says Empathy's name first. But if you Google Laylim Layler, you find us in Laylim Layler. But if you Google me, you'll get a lot of information that can lead you to Laylim Layler, but not necessarily Laylim Layler. Like the purple ones, which is just another way to say Lim Layler. Like, you'll get those breadcrumbs. It'll lead you to hashtags that will lead you to Laylim Layler. So, I think that's very interesting how AI did that. Like, how when you Google Laylim Layler through X, you get you get the names of the people who are affiliated with it. But when you Google the names individually, you don't necessarily get Laylim Layler associated with it. But you get the breadcrumbs that let you know, oh, okay, yeah, this is what Laylim Layler is about. And Laylim Layler looks at it as Laylim Layler is looked at more of as content creation, music, but all that is speaking to culture. So, Laylim Layler is a culture, it's a spirituality, it's a way of life, and that's what culture is basically. Amen, a woman. So yeah, that's all the time that I have for today. I definitely am happy that I did this live. Next time we go live, I'm going to share with you. Yeah, it's a movement. Yeah, next time we go live, I'm going to share with you. I don't want to talk about it in this particular video, but I met a Sagittarius, and I was supposed to go to this party last night, and the party was for trans people, and it was adult themed. So it was probably a lot gonna be going on at this party. I had bought the ticket and everything, and I wanted to go because I'm sure it was probably gonna be some movers and shakers, because the ones that be getting access to funding, and the ones that be having, access to them coins, they be at stuff like that trying to, decompress. Like, you'll find them in spaces like that. People who live very restricted lives because of their work, you find them in places like they're trying to decompress. And so I wanted to go to the party to see if I could make some connections there. But y'all, I was so tired because I had entertained him, and it was really giving. It was literally giving. We be all night. We be all night. It gave we be all night. It started and it was whoo, bitch, we cut up for hours. Uh yours, mine, ours. I could do this. I was like, girl, no ma'am, girl, not you, girl. Girl, girl, girl. Girl, I was cutting up. I was like, girl, not you, girl, not like this, girl. Girl, not you cutting up like this, girl. Hey, girl, you ain't played in the snow, girl. You ain't did no bumps, girl. Girl, you ain't do no bumps, girl. Girl, you ain't do no upper, girl. You was just cutting up like this, girl, off a little bit of herb and a little bit of liquor, girl. And girl, you was cutting up giving these shenanigans, girl, off of rum, girl, and weed, girl. Girl. Now, we had a long conversation before we got into the getting into. Like, we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about women being superior or men being superior because he's Jamaican. So I asked him what he believed, if he believed that men were superior to women. And we had a long conversation before anything happened. Like, we had a spiritual conversation and we talked about the masculine and the feminine and the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And he's a Sagittarius, so he was my polarity. And he was listening, like he was receptive, like he was really receiving what was being said. And that was what made me, become submissive. That he was able to listen. Because normally they don't listen. Normally they don't want to hear that. And so I was able to become submissive and allow myself to be filled, to be spread, and to be penetrated. To be pressed down and shaken together. To be molded in the image and the likeness. Be careful with them Sagittarius being whores and experts at gaslighting. Oh, chill. And that's the thing. I don't want a like I personally I know that he is seeing someone else. Like he never lied about that. Like he have a relationship with somebody else. We used protection. It wasn't no free balling. And it wasn't like I know what it is. Like I'm not under delusion that this is about to be my husband. I'm not under the delusion that this is my Boaz. From what he's told me, it's not serious with him and her. They just friends, but nonetheless, that is his friend. He's already seen somebody, so we're not under the delusion. We're having safe sex. We're having a safe connection. The tea is known. Things are understood. It's just adults being adults. That's pretty much it. Me and Sagittarius just freak off with flings. And I like Sagittarius for a relationship. Um but it's hard to find the one that I would really, really like be in a serious relationship with. Um I want to be with a Capricorn or like a Earth sign, but Earth signs be doing too much. Like they be trying to give too much reverence to the Matrix. Like they be too here for the Matrix. And like I understand, rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's, but don't become so invested in rendering unto Caesar's that we are not manifesting, we're not working towards the next manifestation. We're not working towards building what needs to be built or being what needs to manifest. Like let's not be so invested in that we are not preparing for the next part of the journey. Like, let's not be so fixated in now that we're not preparing people for a time such as now. And so I would ultimately like my partner to be an earth sign. If my 2 cents mattered, if it's if my 2 cents matter, I would like for my partner to be an earth sign, my next partner to be an earth sign, but it doesn't need to be just toxic. I do find that I have a better relationship with Sagittarius is because at least we know what it is. We get a lot out of each other. Their fire fuels me, my air fuels them. It's a good exchange. And as long as we don't try to put no labels on it or make it too serious, it is what it is. But when I get with earth signs, I be wanting it to be more because I instantly see the potential. I instantly see the potential with earth signs. Because they are fixed, they are often builders. And so I just want to be able to do some input on what we're building here. Let's look at these blueprints and turn these blueprints into purple prints. I see you're building something over here. I'm building something myself. Let's come together and collaborate, and let's turn this blueprint into a purple print. So if I could find an earth sign that was with the shits, that was with it, that was with the wholeness and the healing and preparing for times that are now, I would definitely take an earth sign seriously. But it's not easy to run across that. Girl, half of what he be saying, girl, I don't even must be understanding what he be saying. What makes the best, that's what makes the best love to the mind first. Make love to the mind first. Yeah, and that's why I would never lay down with a Jamaican until we have first expressed what's going on in the mind. Because you're not going to get in my bed telling me no fuck shit. Talk to your friends in the streets out there like that. Talk to them like that. Because I already know what they give. Y'all ain't got to warn me. I know what they give. That's why I approach with caution. Oh, I know what they give. I know what they give. Facts. That's the worst combination. Don't let him in your house. Chill. You may be in love and don't even know it. That nigga a incubus. You talking about a succubus? You like him. Give it a go, maybe. Slow down. Me and the Sagittarius just used to mess around a lot. A good few got you down. So what? That may be your person. Okay. 100 just don't believe nothing he says and use condoms. That bitch said just don't believe nothing he says and use condoms. I know, because the motherfucker already said he loved me. So we already know that's a bit of manipulation right there, bitch. The nigga that told me he loved me 2 or 3 times already, I'm like, bitch, come on now, bitch. You love me. Doing it with Sagittarius was alright. They wasn't the freakiest, but I like them knowing they was no good for me. Earth signs are logical divas. Free spirited niggas are the T. I like and my most serious relationships have always been with Geminis, but or air signs. But the thing about it is our season is never like long standing. Like I have good relationships with other air signs, but it don't never like last. Like, I want something that can last, Water water be a little bit too emotional for me. Cause I can be very emotional. And so I don't need to be with cause my moon is in Cancer. Cause my birthday is June the 18th. So I'm working with a lot of water myself. And so being with another person who is equally emotional or more emotional, it's just gonna bring up more emotions for me. And I don't want to be in a hurricane all the time. And so that's why I think water is not necessarily the best connection for me, because it always turned out to be some type of hurricane situation. And, like I said, with air signs, it's always a reason why we can't get it together. And with fire, um, fire just seems like it's good to get attention, or it's good to feel something organically, or it's good to be in that moment. But for me, and building and having longevity, I just feel like partnering with an earth sign for me is the more logical decision. When I think about who I want to be partnered with esoterically. I'ma get a poodle. Men, regardless of their zodiac signs, get on my damn nerves. They expect trans to be willing to put up with their bullshit, then run back to cis women. And I don't see it as running back to cis women. I see it as, and oftentimes this is something to, for me, like you served your purpose with me. Like you are in a more healed space, and maybe you've learned whatever you needed to learn. I'm not finna deny and say that I don't feel like you ran back to halflinghood. You ran back to halflings. You ran back to halflinghood. You ran back to get on that titty. Because you couldn't become your own whole entity and stand on your own. You need that milk. You need mama titty. You need mama titty in your mouth. And I'm not hating on that. It is what it is. But I think that you had to heal with me so that you could know what you needed. I'm not finna belittle myself in this process. You needed me to open your eyes so that you could at least be, because when you came to me, you was barely a halfling. Now at least you a little bit, you might even be a little bit more than a halfling now. You might be a little bit more than a halfling. You might be about 55%, or 56%. Like, you might have got you a few extra percent. You might be a little bit closer to being whole. Now, be ye not twisted, you're still a halfling. Because you haven't realized that you are the titties and the dick and the vagina. You haven't realized that it all exists in you, and you still need to run back to mama titty. You haven't realized your wholeness, and so you're hiding behind mama's skirt. That's why you ran back to mama, because you're hiding behind her skirt. You haven't realized your wholeness, and you haven't realized how to maneuver in that. And I think my example of wholeness frightens you because, girl, I went all the way. Like, I went as far as you could go. And so you think that in order to reach my level or to come to my level of understanding, that you would have to go through everything that I went through. And that's just not true. But you do have to first stop denying who you are. And don't ever think that because you haven't went through any surgeries, because you haven't laid on a table, because you never had to take a hormone shot, that somehow makes you superior. Because it does not. Be thankful that there are so many examples that you could draw from that did that work so that you didn't have to. But don't ever in your mind think that somehow makes you superior. And that's what a lot of them don't take back. They're frightened by the distances we will go to do the work, to understand. So there is no questions when it is time to leave this physical form. So there's not any burning questions that we're struggling with. We've done that work. We went all the way to the other side of this. We peeked behind the curtain. We lived it. We had the experience. We lived our lives as much in the female form as we possibly could, so that we can have this understanding and this clarity. And I think that when a lot of them come face to face with those of us who really that invested, and those of us who have really, really shape shifted, and those of us who are really mirroring and embodying and channeling the divine feminine, I think that it scares them because they don't understand how to access it and how to be it without having to experience it too. And I could tell you this. I did not need to have a sex change. I did not need to grow titties. I did not need to take female hormones to have this experience, to really understand what it means to live as a woman. I didn't need to do all of these things to myself. But unfortunately, we live in a reality where your authenticity will not only be questioned by cis people, but your authenticity will be questioned by queer people, by trans people. They all will question you if you have not went to a certain level. And so, to eliminate all those questions, how about not only did I have an orchiectomy, but I had full bottom surgery. And after I had full bottom surgery, I had a revision to make the hole deeper because I wanted to have more capacity. How about I went through all that? Now, how do you want to question my authenticity again? How about I have on a pad right now that got blood on it? No, I ain't never had a cycle. No, I ain't never had a baby. But I'm still wearing a pad with blood on it. So how about you say I'm not invested in womanhood? How about you say I'm not invested in the divine feminine? How about you say I'm not focused and serious on experiencing as much as I can of what my foremothers experienced as possible? How about you try to tell that? And how about I'm still not delusional? How about I still know that I was not born biologically female in this incarnation? How about I'm not delusional? How about I've done all of this to myself and I'm still not delusional? But everything that I went through was not for nothing because it has given me the ability to be able to teach you. And some of you get so scared that you run back behind you run back behind your baby mama's skirt, you run back behind your ex-wife's skirt, you run back behind their skirts because you don't know how to walk in your wholeness. You don't know how to do it. The only thing that you feel safe being toxically masculine. So you run back behind you run back behind their skirt tails, you jump back on their titty because you know they're gonna justify you in that toxic language. They're gonna justify you in the misogyny and the sexism as long as you keep running back to them. hmm it's a vicious game. It's a vicious cycle. I might get canceled for this, but most of the African American men can enter the recycle bin or get sent back to the factory. It ain't just African American men that need to hit the recycle bin, though. A lot of them in general, gay and straight. The reset button, factory reset. Let's reprogram that, decolonize that, and put some new programming in there. Definitely. I also don't believe in zodiacs. I say it cause that's what they say. I definitely believe in the stars. I'm not gonna let no white or Mexican looking. I'm not gonna let no white or Mexican looking for BBC use my body for their sex fantasies. Child, they can enter the trash too. Right. Have him bring you some oxtails with extra gravy. And it's so crazy. Like I told y'all, I have been craving oxtails and craving that type of food. And look what, the first partner that I engage with, you know, child of ancestors be lining stuff up, honey. You better get a strap for the Jamaicans, like on Maddie and Cherry. I don't I think you need that type of stuff when you carry yourself in a certain way. You know, Maddie and Cherry, those are girls who are obvious, and they are also girls who look like they have resources. And so if a man doesn't respect you because he thinks that he's superior because he's a man, because that's what religion teaches him, and you appear to have access and you appear to have wealth. I know how to maneuver in the hood. I've lived in the hood my whole life. Like I've never lived in a gated community or lived in a wealthy area. You need straps and you need protection and you need guns when you don't understand how the hood works. I am not a person who is flashy. I am not a person who is trying to go in spaces and give you, look at me, look at my bag, look at my hair, look at my nails, look at my shoes, bitch, I got it. I'm a boss, bitch. None of that. Like I know how to maneuver in the hood, and so you need to introduce those elements when you walk through the hood stunting, when you walk through the hood doing the most. The reason why I was able to live in a village in Africa for 9 months is because I know how to maneuver in the hood. I don't give a damn if you think I'm look. I don't care if you think I look like a crackhead. I don't care if you saw me wear those pants 3 days in a row. I don't care if you saw me wear that sweater 3 days in a row. I bet you I ain't musty. I don't care. When I walk out the door, I know what type of environment I'm in. So I'm not gonna give you no indication to what's in my house. I know how to maneuver through the hood. You need guns when you need weapons when you want to let everybody know that you're this and the rest of them are this. But when you maneuver through the hood, you should maneuver just like you're them. When you try to put yourself above people in the hood, that's when you draw attention to yourself. When you try to set yourself apart, that's when you draw that energy to you. And I don't do that. That's not me. That's why I could live in any hood. I'm just not able to do it. Because what's the point? Who am I trying to prove something to? For what? My wealth is not monetary, although it can be. My wealth is, and I don't have to show that off either. If you are, if you are the type of person that can share space with me, then you'll experience it and you'll learn it for yourself. But I don't have no points to prove to people just walking down the street or people I'm just meeting in the everyday. Like I don't have no point to prove. I don't owe anybody nothing when I step outside the door. Only person I owe something to is me. And I owe me safety. I owe me comfort. I owe me protection. I owe me empathy and patience. I owe all that to me. And so when I give that to myself, I understand that when I walk outside the door, I'm not trying to. Now, in the summertime, when I'm wearing outfits that are perhaps a little bit more sexy and a little bit more suggestive, then I even have to be mindful because I understand that a lot of them have a predatory energy. They are hunters. And so I have to be more thoughtful in how I maneuver in the attention that I attract to me. Mm-hmm. Signs won't. I understand the same signs won't withstand. Because technically, we would think the same. Sometimes you can have signs though that are the same that stay together for a long time. I know signs that have done it. I think Earth signs is the best sign. The rest of them are not compatible based off how they move. I feel like it gets to the point where men start to become too transparent and whole, then they get scared and block themselves spiritually and automatically revert to their ego. That's good. That's very good. You own to something with that one. Yeah, because there's not a support system for that. Lay lim lay lur is still grassroots, and these types of conversations, although people are having them, they're not having the conversations in a way that a lot of our Black Indigenous brothers can relate to, and so they revert back to what's safe for them. It's ghetto. TS full ticket. Blood. Y'all was cutting up last night, child. Just kidding. Not last night. I didn't do nothing last night. But child, I believe when I dilate. Spiritually and spiritually, you're all woman. I must have missed last night. No, I didn't go live last night. But and the shenanigans happened the night before last. Basically, you want their hands they want their hands held and their egos coddled by slow ass mammies. Oops. Facts. I always wanted to be post op. Even trans men, they be with yeah, they some of them be with fuck shit too. I need to stop saying someone ain't invested. They need to stop saying someone isn't invested in their womanhood as a trans woman and stop calling people confused and delusional. A man and woman, Madison and Cherry are the men in their relationships. They need guns because they can only keep up the illusion for so long. The illusion of femininity. Girl, I'm just gonna bite the skin off my lip on that girl. They straight. They will say trans women don't know they are men and they are so confused that they are a man. I hate them who say that. It's not for the weak. That's why gay men transition and try to change the rules of what it means to be trans. Oh, baby, you set up and pondered that one, didn't you? 100% pure love. Baby, you must have had chewed on you a mushroom when you got that one. You said it's not for the weak. That's why gay men basically infiltrate to try to change the rules of what it means to be transgender. Wow, so they sending in the ops. Oh wow, the ones that's being called that's be calling us delusional and confused, be having multiple personality disorders and imposter syndrome, trying to please society. They and they saggy titty mama. Oh my goodness, now you it's a little bit of rage coming out in the comments or Anonymous spirit. Cherry voice deep as fuck though. My voice is deeper tone. It's about the energy behind it. Amen, a woman, because my voice is deep too. And I pick my battles. I keep a low profile. Yeah, I'm always gonna observe my environment. I'm not gonna never go in an environment being flashy and drawing a whole lot of attention to myself. I'm going to observe and fill it out and kind of like move, like covered and not. There's certain attributes about myself I can't hide. My skin glows. Um, my butt is big. I'm shapely. I've had several men in this neighborhood to compliment me on my body. One of them told me that I was shaped like a Coca-Cola bottle. That happens to be the one that I'm talking to now. But there are certain things about myself that I cannot hide, you know, um, but I am modest. I'm never, I don't overdo it because when you overdo it, that can trigger something in people, and so I'm always a less is more kind of being. Like I'm less is more. I'm very extra on social media. Very I give a lot on social media because that is my outlet. But when I'm maneuvering in society, I am very strategic. I am very strategic about when I will evoke certain energy. Very when I will show up in a certain way. Okay, a little bit of mushroom, huh? Niggas be having multiple baby mamas, 23 kids that they don't raise, and they homeboy Corey, who be who he be rock climbing every week expeditiously, and the trans girlfriend Tasha on the side. And we're gonna close out right there. Cause they do be rock climbing the homies. And we are and none of us we in this day and age we not finna pretend like we don't know that. They be rock climbing the homies. A man, a woman. And we gonna close out on that. Rock climbing the homies. The females be worried about the trans woman and it ain't the trans woman because he rock climbing with the homies. Y'all remember Clueless? We done it with the homies. Rock climbing, rock climbing with the homies. Let me stop. Definitely be rock climbing with the homies. Modesty and self awareness are attractive qualities and powerful traits to possess. And child, that's how you get it in, baby. I'm so happy to not be in this space where I feel like I need to always be wearing it out or I need to always be breaking it up. Like, I don't need, baby. No, that's why when I get on my YouTube, when I get on my Facebook, um, I'll do my little sexy videos, do my little dance videos. I got one coming up now that I'm getting ready for. I gotta do it fast though because I've been, eating some things and waistline ain't feeling like it's need to be feeling, but I'm gonna do a little fast. And when I finish my fast, I got another little song that was wrote for me that I want to give the children, and I got a cute little number I want to wear. But I never give all that type of stuff in the streets. Like I don't stomp through the streets like that unless I'm at a gay pride or I'm at some type of queer event or something like that. But when I'm amongst the halflings, I blend in with the halflings. Cause I don't need to announce who I am because my mind, if you around me and you are blessed enough to hold conversation with me, you are on a frequency enough where you can hold conversation with me, that's where my wholeness will show. I don't have a problem with showing up as halfling. I don't have a problem with you reading me as halfling. I don't have a problem with being read as halfling. But when I open my mouth and I start to talk about the mother and the father, the divine masculine and when you enter my aura, when you enter my space, and when you share space with me, that's when you're gonna learn of the wholeness. Everything don't need to be you see it as soon as you everything don't need to be announced. But trust me, if you get the opportunity to share space with me, you're going to hear and witness and feel the aura of the wholeness. But I'm perfectly fine with you reading me as a halfling. Perfectly fine with it. Perfectly fine. I don't need to embody what we think of as androgyny or what we think of as wholeness. I don't need to physically carry that badge. I don't. I'm happy for the beings that do. I celebrate them. I love them. But I don't necessarily have to hold that in order for it to be authentic because I've done the work in here and in here. Amen, a woman. So yeah, we're gonna end this live today, and I'll burn a candle off. I'll burn a candle off on camera, off camera, and yeah. Well, I'll come back probably tomorrow with another video. Transparency is a superpower, like being able to create spaces for people to be vulnerable, and that's what being transparent does. The more vulnerable you are, the more transparent you are, you cultivate and develop a space for other people to be vulnerable and feel safe in that vulnerability. And that is a superpower. That is very good, Anandia, that you made that connection. Creating spaces where people are safe to be vulnerable, where people are safe to be transparent, where people are safe to be honest and whole. That is a superpower, to be able to hold space for that, to have capacity for that, to have the range and the bandwidth to create spaces like that. That is a superpower. But rejuvenate yourself and take care of yourself. A man, a woman, because if you're not getting what you need back, it can deplete. So, always make sure that you're being poured back into. A man, a woman. So anyway, I love y'all. Y'all have a beautiful day. Down but the noun that I say cool, keep spinning and turning. Ian Gani, Iyanko Kalukalo, which means I am a child of God Goddess. And if I am, you know you are. Give me 5 gray hearts and give me 5 purple hearts, because that's where we at 2025. We doing the gray hearts and we're doing the purple hearts. So y'all give me some purple hearts down in the chat. 5 gray ones, 5 purple ones. I love y'all. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we will do a check in at some point this week. Tomorrow is the anniversary of my husband's passing. And so I don't know if I'm going to go live tomorrow. I may just want to take that day to reflect, but after that, I will come back to y'all with another live. Thank you for supporting this live. Have a beautiful day, and I will touch bases with y'all either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Thank you, love y'all, love and light. Later.